Hey guys, it is Ben. Here we are. I wanted to make this video mostly due to the fact that it covers my favorite story of all time. Well, my favorite author of all time, I should say. Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien. Recently, as I'm sure you've all have heard, Amazon got the rights to produce a Lord of the Rings TV show. For the longest time, there was all kinds of speculation about where the show would go. I was immediately turned off by the initial reports coming in that it was going to be a show that they were going to do about young Aragorn and his adventures fighting the armies of Sauron, and I'm assuming that they would have included something about him meeting Arwen and all that. I was turned off by it. I don't like this business of, well, we're going to tell new stories within this, because Tolkien's lore is so packed. It's so rich and dense. There are so many stories in there. So many stories that would be great adapted into cinema. To sidestep that just to go for your own thing, which, as we know, in the year 2020, means that they would have interjected modern day BS into it, and thus would have sullied the memory of it, especially since I think most modern day filmmakers have a distinct disconnect with elements of theology and spirituality. And for those of you who do not know, most of Tolkien's lore is rooted heavily in theology and spirituality, as well as the mythos of other cultures. It reflects a lot of particularly Catholic theology within it. That's not the main point of the story, obviously. Without that, you miss the themes and you miss the overall message of the story. Come close, but it's kind of a half measure. So I was turned off. I was going to avoid the whole thing. And then I learned that the Tolkien estate, in infinite wisdom and glory, set some limits to Amazon. And they told them that you cannot touch anything from the Third Age. Everything that you can do things from the Second Age of Middle-earth. This renewed my interest in it. I thought, wow, okay, awesome. We've got the protectors of the Tolkien estate protecting the intellectual property. What a concept in the modern era. The story has been reset to take place in the Second Age of Middle-earth. And then today, I go online and I'm looking at the cast list for the Lord of the Rings TV show, and I was surprised, number one, the fact that they're still calling it the Lord of the Rings TV show. That bugs the hell out of me. This is not Lord of the Rings. If it's gonna take place in the Second Age of Middle-earth, it's a different story. The Lord of the Rings centers around Sauron and around Frodo destroying the ring. That's the point. The Lord of the Rings is Sauron himself. To call this the Lord of the Rings is just, it's a very vapid marketing ploy, and it takes away from the creativity of the project, in my opinion. And then, of course, we look at the list and we see, well, I mean, I wouldn't call it diverse, because there's only like a couple of, I think, black people in there, and mostly ugly looking honkies. I guess it's the modern era. It's that when you see that, the first thing that pops into my mind is, oh god, they're gonna interject some woke bullshit. We're gonna get scenes of a female character who's so put upon by the males around her. All the white males are gonna be just these completely intolerant blockheads who are gonna treat them like garbage. And we're gonna get a lesson about, you don't treat people who look differently from you badly. And it's like, okay, so the message of like in the early 90s. Cool. Good to know that we're not making any progress whatsoever. And yeah, it bothers me mainly because of the fact that it also just goes against the lore. Middle-earth is supposed to be prehistorical Britain. I know that technically when you call it Middle-earth, and in the Viking sense, it's supposed to mean the world, but this is supposed to be a mythology about Britain. Every single culture has their origin stories. Tolkien found that there was a distinct lack of purely British mythology. Most of it had been intermingled with French mythology. So as such, he wanted to create that was distinctively Anglo-Saxon in nature. It tells me that the creators really didn't put too much thought into it, nor do they really get the source material. So you can't really, it evokes the same feeling I get with the new sequel trilogy of Star Wars, where they just kind of cherry pick things from the originals, that like little aesthetics that people don't really have too much emotion invested into. Crap like it, oh look, there's a scene with blue milk. Oh look at that, they referenced the holiday special. Goody. I get the vibe, like I don't want that to happen to Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is such a beautiful and rich story. You know, we've seen so many mythologies just getting completely lambasted by postmodernist BS, and the last thing we need is to see Lord of the Rings go down the same track. Oh, I shouldn't even call it Lord of the Rings because it's not going to be Lord of the Rings, but of course they're going to call it Lord of the Rings because they think that they're going to attract the original audience that way. Goody goody gumdrop. I'm gonna do some videos talking a little bit more about Tolkien and the Tolkien mythos. Pretty much my love of it, because I'm a huge Tolkien nut and I can go on and on, but I'd like to keep these videos under 10 minutes. So yeah, there we go. Remember, Outlaw Nights is coming to Indiegogo on April 1st, 2020. You do not want to miss out on this awesome comic book project. Click on the link in the description below to get on our email list. You will have exclusive access to perks that no one else will. So get on it. Thank you so much for joining me again, everybody. If you like anything I had to say, go ahead, hit the like button, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, and be sure to subscribe to the Fusebox channel on BitChute as well. I will talk to you all later.